Press the bell icon on the YouTube app to never miss a video from Newslaundry.
This is a Newslaundry podcast and you're listening to Highway on my podcast with Rocky, Mayur and Abhinandan.
We're back!
We're hungry!
And we are on Highway on my podcast with the two biggest men in food and travel in India, Rocky and Mayur. And I'm Abhinandan, their lovely friend and director.
In case you don't know why Abhinandan is over here, he is a complete waste of time as far as eating is concerned. लेकिन इन महोदय ने Highway on my plate direct किया था. यही है वो जो maker बोलते हैं जिसको. He is the maker. So that's why he's here. Welcome, Niku. बड़े दिनों बाद मुलाकात हुई.
Rocky, you've given it away. I was going to say that earlier there were two of us and now there's three of us, and because we got bored of each other, we had a love child and it came out hairy in hirsute. If you could see Abhinandan, you would know that this can be nobody's love child.
We had thought of calling this show 2.5 Men, not because I'm half a man, but because I'm small in size. Just saying, just clarifying. But other than Honk, we have been together all over the country on other shows as well. Vital Stats, boys, remember? We went all over.
Yes. And Jai Hind, we went all over with guns and bombs, which was very conducive for me.
Yes, we must get Prashant to join us in one of these if he's not going to beat up any people in uniform. But luckily, because they're all locked down, we are all safe. So, guys, lockdown idea. Rox, Mayur, tell us. Tell the general public how that eureka moment at night, as we were talking to each other, abusing each other, we said, might as well do something productive at this time.
देखो, we have always been villas. बचपन से हमारा यही रहा है कि हमें कोई काम वाम का शौक नहीं रहा. तो हम लोग ये सोचते रहते कि बिना कुछ काम किए मजे करने के बाद हम लोग कैसे कुछ क्रिएटिव कर सके. तो इसीलिए हमने निक्कू के साथ दोस्ती करी थी कि इसको अगर घुमाएंगे पूरे इंडिया में शायद थोड़ा मोटा हो जाएगा. तो ऐसे अगर लॉक इन का टाइम आए और अगर रैशनिंग हो जाए ज्यादा और खाने की कमी हो जाए तो हम कम से कम खाने के लिए तो कुछ होगा. लेकिन ये लड़का वैसे का वैसा ही है. हैंसल और ग्रेटल की स्टोरी में अगर तू हैंसल होता ना निक्कू, तो चुड़ैल तेरे को कभी नहीं मारती.
Dekho bhaiya, I needed to get something done because I've been sitting home and much as I've been enjoying time with family, it is now crossing the border. If you've seen the Instagram post that we put out from our handle at Rocky and Mayur, I am now being reduced to chopping onions and stuff, and I would rather eat. I think there is a lot of value in people who cook. I would just rather go out there and eat. And if I can't go out there and eat, I'd at least rather talk with my friends and we talk about the good old days when we used to be able to go out and eat.
And hopefully we shall soon, but we shall discuss that later. Right now, the idea was that we figured in this lockdown period, I'm sitting here in Delhi. I go to office only once or twice a week because media is essential services apparently. Rox, you've been home for how long now?
Oh yeah, I'm in Delhi and I was traveling furiously till the 7th of March. And I was quite sure that I might have got the coronavirus. So I quarantined myself from the 7th to the 21st. And then now the quarantine started again. So I'm well, thank you. So far, so good. And I hopefully don't have it yet. But I'm home in Delhi, just sitting and eating and relaxing.
Mayonnaise?
Goa, baby, Goa, where there's lots of space anyways and very few people. Of course, they're still trying to get their act together. So 3 days after our beloved leader announced that there would be groceries for everybody, in Goa so far, despite everybody's best efforts, there are not that many groceries for many people. Everybody's out there looking and hunting. The government's trying. I'll give them credit. They're trying, but they haven't really got there. We're all a little laid back here in Goa, which is a good thing if you ask me.
So Mayur moved to Goa a few years ago. So we are all sitting at our homes and we're recording through some new app. So in case the audio quality is not of the finest, it's not because we've lost our edge and we aren't the finest professionals anymore like we have been for the last 2 decades.
Yeah, absolutely. And with all respect, if you have any problems with the audio or the quality of this broadcast, please write a letter in duplicate. And once it's done, just fold it and throw it in your dustbin and we'll pay attention to it.
But hopefully, guys, once this series of lockdown podcasts is on, we'll hit the road again. Let's evolve that thought as we go on.
Oh, absolutely. I need to get back on the road, man. I'm sick of being indoors already. My life is out on the road. I'm a traveler. I've been a traveler all my life. And I'm really feeling claustrophobic, but I'm still going to stay home until the government says it's safe to come out.
Right. Let's use this lockdown period, since we can't get out and we were itching to get out. Let's at least share all our journeys across the country, because we have traveled across the country by road, everywhere you can think of. So let's get the people who are locked down to rediscover India with us. and we just thought it would be fun. There's enough bad news that's happening. We just thought it'd be nice to have something a little uplifting also for an hour a day. If not every day, at least thrice a week, right, guys?
That was so heartfelt, and what I picked up on was the itching. Rocky, are you itching? Because I'm not itching. Niku, why are you itching? What have you been doing in lockdown? What have you been itching?
Dekho, even in a state of lockdown, if you're itching, there is something very wrong. The government has declared time and again, please wash your hands many times.
Speaking of itching, I
If you
remember
have-
there was one delicacy called khurchan, which I remember. I don't know where it was. Rocky, where was it? Indore? It's this basically what's left over when you boil
I
the milk or
look,
malai. What is it?
I only do above the waist conversation, so I'm not going to talk about any gurchan.
Yeah, and then that
It's
guy said that iska jo dosa hai, isko khurchan kehte hai. So Rocky looks straight into camera and says, "That doesn't sound like much of a delicacy. It sounds like a skin disease you'd get around a genital area." I was like, "Dude,
Rocky, the guy was talking about the bottom of the pan, not the bottom.
हाँ, मुझे पता है खुरचन क्या होती है. Basically, in Indian cooking, when you have a big heavy pan or a pot and you're done with making your dish, a little bit because of the extra heat, a little bit of the material you're using, typically milk or sweet, gets stuck to the bottom of the pan. So when you scrape it off, that is called khurchan, and that can happen with almost any ingredient. But a lot of people like that crumbly, zesty, crackly, burntish taste of the khurchan. So usually with sweets, it is brilliant. With rice, it is horrible, but some people like that burnt rice taste also. So now you know what khurchan is. No need to call your doctor. No need to apply any balm. Just relax and enjoy your khurchan.
just enjoy your
I've, I've understood. Khurchan is not a disease. Khurchan is the best excuse for not being a very good cook and burning everything that you make. Got it.
Yes,
Okay, so
you're a khurchan expert.
Yes.
but before we head on to explore the country, just one quick little nugget of Rocky and Mayur go back to when they were 2 and 3 or 4 and 8, and they're next door neighbors. They've been friends for life. I was introduced in their life in the basketball court in my 19, I think 18 or 19, 17, and now we are 40s and 50s. I don't know, Rocky, maybe the youngest of all. So it has been a long journey, both literally and figuratively, which has culminated in this podcast. Who would have thought it would be? Because everybody is stuck at home.
No. It's let me tell you the real story. The real story is that in 1976, I and the wolf pack of 7-year-old boys used to prowl the streets of where we live like wolves running all over the place. We were all 7 years old. So, so when we were 7 years old, suddenly one day I found a really fat boy following us who was about 4 years old. And he kept running behind us and bothering us while we were trying to play our games and stuff like that. And of course, because he was so fat and slow and small, he was slowing us down. So a lot of kids were pushing him around. So of course, me being a true superhero. Yeah,
That was Mayur's background music.
So, being a true superhero, what I did was I stepped up and saved him from the boys. And ever since then, we've been friends. Little 4-year-old Mayur and little 7-year-old me in 1976. What a story! What a long time.
What a story.
And,
What a story.
and now we're two old crusty warriors, and I'm not going back to the whole Khurchan this. I'm just saying we're two crusty warriors, and we have a lot of years of friendship and joy and sorrow, and even a few punches and bloody noses under our belts, and we have moved on. And where are we moving on to is what I want to know, and who's providing the snacks?
Well, we're old. We're crusty because we're old. We're dusty because we haven't bathed. We're musty because we smell a little bit. We're rusty because we sort of haven't been doing the things that we've been doing. Anything else with a
High iron. You're rusty because your diet is high iron. A lot of anecdotes will come as we progress on this podcast, but we figured we'd go state by state, and the three of us discussed this on video call, and Mayur and I almost dropped our phones because Rocky showed up on the video call clean shaven. I'm just letting everybody know. He's looking like the 7-year-old child we remember.
It's
Okay,
just my good looks are now.
Sorry, go ahead, Rock. Go. Yeah, go.
I
It's
just
just
want
my
to.
just my.
Sorry.
Oye, rock
Okay,
मेरा नाम है कि तेरा नाम है? ओए, come on, क्या है?
Pele up, age before beauty.
Well, my good looks stand exposed now since all that hair is gone. There is nothing between my remarkably sharp features and the rest of the world, which is why these two are blown away. Take a look. How's it looking, boys?
Mayur.
5 kilo aloo. Eyes complete. Aloo में भी आँख होते हैं, रॉकी भैया के भी आँख हैं.
So,
Acha, listen, but in the days of Corona, what is the first state that we're going to pick? Let's start with something with
Let's
the
not pick the state of panic. Let's not pick the state of panic. That's what we're telling people all over the country. Do not pick the state of panic. Those are not the states we're talking about. Mild concern, panic, hysteria. We're not going down those states. We're going to go to the real states of India.
although this state that we're going down has at times shown hysteria, but we started with it, and hopefully one day we will get back when all this is behind us on the road. Rocky and Mayur will ride again, and I shall piggyback on their backs, which I can actually play football on. They have very large backs. But we figured, because Auntie Ekta Kapoor had taught us that जब भी कोई नेक शो बनाना हो उसको K से शुरू करो. So we thought we'd start with Karnataka because it's the only state with K. Wasn't that the reason why? That is why we had also thought we'd call the show Highway on My Plate. But
with a triple K. So highway on my plate would have been the big hit automatically. Would you would have had to do anything? We would have just put out 1 hour of silence, and you would have all loved it. It would have been a super hit.
but on Highway on My podcast, Mayur, you tell us why Karnataka. I know you really loved Karnataka.
Because I also want to go to a KKK, Kahani Karnataka ki.
Okay, good. That's the right KKK.
No, Karnataka is just, there are every state in India is totally unique. Lekin Karnataka is just such a food powerhouse. I mean, ऐसे जबरदस्त महारती बैठे हैं Karnataka में that it is remarkable when you just cross the border from the north while you're driving, because usually we're coming from, Delhi, Mumbai, Goa, wherever. And as soon as you cross the border into Karnataka, you are just astounded by the wealth of food it has here. I would say more sort of cuisines and types of cuisines, standalone, eclectic, little influences, no influences than any other state in the country. What do you think? Any other state can match Karnataka's multiple cuisines?
Kerala, good fight.
Yeah.
Kerala is small. That's the problem. Kerala size-wise is small here. So it can't really, match that kind of complete change. I mean, you go to Udupi, it's one thing. Mangalore has got 15 or 18 cuisines of its own within Mangalore. I mean, Udupi has got dozens of cuisines. You come down to Bangalore, you've got a food powerhouse. Coorg, you've got a food powerhouse. Mysore, you've got a food powerhouse. Anywhere you go in Bangalore, I mean, the cuisines are endless. Just these 5-6 names that I've taken are 70-80 different kinds of cuisines and probably a few hundred kinds of foods. So it is phenomenal.
Agar मैं भटक गया, just bring me back on track because my geography is a bit weak. I mean, I only remember directing no matter where I was. I don't. So that place we did that tappad along Karwar, right? That along
Yes, that's Karwar. As soon as you enter the border, Teppal, very similar to the Szechuan pepper.
So that long drive where the waves were crashing right next to the. We did that late at night, and we got there like wee hours of the morning, and then we ate that lunch over there, that canteen. That is Karnataka, right?
Correct. Wohi wala hai.
Wahi wala. So just before Mayur tells us about the food, I do remember that we guys had once been pushed by when we did that series of Homp with the fans of you guys had put Bangalore as one of the top 3 food places in the country. I recall that, right?
Yes, and I think it continues to hold that distinction. It's still amongst our favorites, and till date, I think. I mean, if you look at even the new restaurants, Bangalore still continues to be a food powerhouse. If you look at the number of restaurants that open, it's more than probably any other city in India. It shows they're very willing to experiment, besides having a really strong base of local cuisine.
Yeah, Bangalore is not a city anymore. It is now Bengaluru. There is no Bangalore on the planet
Thank
anymore.
you.
So those of you who like Bangalore, just forget about it. It is Bengaluru. Yeah, that's some music. So those who like it, just remember it's Bengaluru now. But I'll never get used to saying that, and people get really upset sometimes when I say Bangalore because all my life it was Bangalore, so I get it wrong once in a while. Yeah, what's the big deal? But yeah, Bangalore has always been my favorite food city, and you know why? Because in Bangalore, people genuinely, I mean, the culture, at least till in the last 10 years or so, it's changing very rapidly, and I can't say what it is now. But till about 30 years ago, the culture of Bangalore was a really accepting culture. So when a foreign cuisine would come in, they wouldn't tweak it to local tastes. So the authentic flavors of foreign foods that you got, whether it was Greek food or Japanese food or Mexican food. It would be authentic Greek, authentic Mexican, authentic Japanese. And that's why Bangalore for me was really a remarkable city and continues to be a remarkable city.
So the food notwithstanding, I remember our first trip to Bangalore, and I think we went there several times. I think by the end of it, various shows that we did, other than Highway on Plate, even Vital Stats, and the other show for that new international Z channel that launched, we went totally, I think, and you guys must have gone separately another dozen times. At least together, we went about 6 times because there were so many places to discover. But the first time I remember, from to the last time, I mean, you guys can talk about the food for sure, but the traffic, guys, remember the drive from Mysore when we went for that ink thing to Bangalore? It took us longer to get from the Bangalore airport to our hotel. And I think that for me has been truly sad to see Bangalore from such a lovely drivable city where we had coffee at Koshi's and he had that tree outside. And at that time, Koshi's was the big hot. I'm talking about the mid 2000s. Now I'm sure there are a lot of places, but that's been quite sad.
No, it's the first time I went to Bangalore, I think was in 1990. And I went there as a student, as a college student. And then 92, 93, I worked there extensively. I used to work with different airlines. And what I remember of Bangalore is that it used to be this beautiful, quiet, flower city. Evenings was fantastic. In the mid 90s, they had a magnificent pub culture. Everybody was out in the evenings. It was just a wonderful, beautiful city. I mean, the weather of Bangalore is phenomenal in the summer. Let's all agree to that. And there's nothing almost quite like it, especially when you come out of Delhi's heat and you get down to Bangalore in the summer. It's heaven. But what a welcoming, beautiful city it used to be. And traffic was unheard of. I mean, you could get all the way across the city in like 45 minutes. I used to have a friend in, what is it, that White Plains? What is it called?
Whitefield.
Do you know what the name is, Mayur?
Whitefield.
Whitefield.
What do you mean I won't remember?
From the center of the city to Whitefield used to take like no time at all. But now, of course, the traffic has gone mad. And that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges of doing Highway on My Plate again. If you get down on the road, just the journey between place A and place B is hours and hours.
But Mysore is still like that. I remember our trip to Mysore was amazing. That ink factory which makes that indelible ink, which the only factory I think in Asia they said that makes that ink for this thing. That was a beautiful town. Bangalore may be a congested city.
I have fabulous memories of Bangalore. My favorite one is the first time round, if we went there, if you remember, and we went to that place called Gayatri Tiffin Room with a really nice Mysore masala dosas. Of course, in Mysore, they probably just call them masala dosas, not Mysore masala dosas. But
MTR. Oh, no, yeah. Sorry,
Gayatri Tiffin Room.
Right.
And then we were eating the kesari baat, and there was that skinny guy next to me. He's like, I'll have a competition with you. You remember when we lined them up and I'd eaten 8 and he was on his first one?
I remember, yes. We were sitting and you had lined up and you were popping them and I had to say, Mayur, bas kar tujhe diabetes ho jayegi, lekin kudrat ka khel dekho, diabetes mujhe ho gayi. Why I got that? Because for 7 years, my staple diet used to lie on the dashboard. But we'll come to that later. And I only ate that.
I think the controversy that surrounds Bangalore and in fact all of Karnataka and Mysore is which is the best dosa around it. And I think this little girl said it best in Mysore. I don't know if you guys remember her. She was a tiny little girl who was sitting and eating with us. And I said, what's the difference between a Mysore masala dosa and a masala dosa? And she said, Mysore one will be more tasty.
Yeah, I remember that simple simplicity was it had everybody quiet completely. But I remember that guy. But the most interesting character, I of course will only talk about characters and not the food. Mayur can comment on that. But Mayur, before I come to the characters, did we ever get to the bottom of what was Tapped? What was the name of that place? Karwar, right? Where we went to that place?
Yeah, it was in Karwar. And from what I can remember, is that they use only the skin. They don't use the seeds in the cooking. And I remember, I don't know, when you put it on the tip of your tongue, it just, everything becomes, your mouth cools and then everything becomes numb. That's all I remember. And I know that it's some relative of the Sichuan pepper, but that's all I remember.
Yeah, in fact, if you go down to Nagaland, I think it's called Machenga over there. And it's exactly the same in terms of looks, but it could taste different. But we'll talk about that when we're in Nagaland. But listen, I don't want to let this point go. Every guy or girl that you speak to in Karnataka will tell you what makes a really good dosa and which is the best one. And they all have differing opinions. And each one of them is completely disdainful of every other dosa in the world. So I just want to know who's right. Because every time you repeat something that one person said to another one, they're like, that's nonsense. That is not a good dosa.
As a half Tamilian who actually invented the dosa, I would say the best ones you get are in Chennai, but I don't want to step into that controversy. I want to stick with the non-controversial bit. I think one of my favorite drives in all the drives we've been around the country, whether it was for Homp or any of the other shows, was that night when it was fucking raining cats and dogs, lightning strikes, and that waves crashing right by, and that there's a 10-kilometer stretch which just is along the
Oh,
coast.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I would highly recommend those of you who aren't into food like me, but are into drives. That is one of the most spectacular drives. I hope it's still there and hasn't been replaced by some flyover or something. But it is a stunning drive. But you remember that guy who was so lovely?
Yeah, he was in
His name
Gunavante.
was
I think the place
Bhattji.
was called Gunavante. And what I remember distinctly was all these bodybuilders walking around to eat those dosas with the ghee, and they were like, "This is best for body." And what
Yeah.
buddies they had.
I remember. And his dhaba had all the Ani, Shani, and Mr. Olympia posters. And it was this little hovel, yeah. And I remember we said, because we had a principle that we will not eat for free, because then you can't give an honest review. And Rocky and Muir used to give reviews more honest than we would care for sometimes, but we'll come to some of that later. But then he said, I'm not going to take money. I said, then we can't review your place. It won't feature in the show. He says, fine, that's okay. You eat and go. And this was fucking late at night. Nothing was open and we had to eat because I think we were hitting Mangalore or Karwar just after that. And it would be too late and we had an early morning sunrise to catch. We had to get the sunrise shot. For me, that is amongst the most memorable drives.
I agree. And I still remember the juxtaposition. One wall, if you guys remember, was all gods and gurus. And then the other wall was all bodybuilders and Mr. Olympia and army and stuff. And in the middle was a ghee, and that was a solid dosa. Like we couldn't get past to. Remember,
Yeah.
we were shooting, and all that smoke arising from all the ghee cooking,
But
just
that's one of the things
smoke
that
everywhere.
most
That
people,
smell.
don't get to
Oh, I
see. I
still
wish you
remember
could
it.
show them the real behind the scenes look of the show. It is so fabulous. I mean, late at night, absolutely deserted highway, thunder, lightning, rain, nobody around, absolute silence, nobody to stop and ask. Just those, like you said, those waves crashing onto the road. It's just so nice. I remember we stopped up and we tanked up on our smoke. If you remember, the Paradise Makers, the Happy Place Takers, and that was so nice there.
But staying with Karnataka, one of the places where, I mean, just so you guys know, I didn't often eat where Rocky and Mayur ate because I used to eat breakfast in the morning and through the day I'd just keep snacking. I'm not much of a foodie. And at night I'd get back to the hotel wherever we go and order chicken, hot and sour soup, and ice cream. And I remember Mayur used to look at me with disdain because Mayur is quite you'd be, surprised, but he's quite the fine taste. He knows all these fancy things and fine tastes and all that. And he says, Sara, din hum kahan gaye? And you come to the hotel and eat fucking chicken hot and sour soup. And in every single place I did that. But
Butterscotch ice cream.
and butterscotch, I remember, which is why I have diabetes now. For 7 years, that's all I did for like 200 days. But you guys remember this place had been really built up between Bangalore and Mysore. We were told it is when Rajnikant was a bus conductor, it was his favorite restaurant. It had ragi balls or something. Fuck,
Ragi
it tastes-
mudde. Yeah.
it was
Big
disgusting,
round
man.
dry balls. Oh.
I could not even take it down my fucking throat. Yeah, I was sick. Did you guys like it? Like seriously?
No, those are called military hotels, by the way. They were all over the highways. Now they're reducing in number. And the military hotels, the purpose was where you could go in and eat meat freely without any worries. So their mutton was absolutely brilliant. I still remember that. But yeah, the ragi mudde, if you're not used to eating that, it's very hard to eat. And you don't really chew it. It doesn't really pick up flavor. You're just supposed to take little balls of ragi and swallow them along with your meat and your curry, etc. So it's, for people looking for big taste, it's not really the right thing to eat, but it is part of a huge culture. And remember, armies used to march on ragi because that you could, just make into these balls and hand over to 3 or 4 soldiers who would keep popping these little ragi balls and keep marching.
I thought armies always marched on their legs and their stomachs and their horses and
That's
their
only what
elephants. This is the first time I've heard of armies rolling around on ragi muddas.
that's only what they like to
But-
believe. They all actually march on their stomach, take away food for 4 days, and you see what happens to the army. Don't mess with food.
I don't know about the food, but one thing that popped up in a lot of these roadside eateries, and especially I remember the one at the Rajnikant's favorite Ragi Ball military hotel.
Jai Bhuvaneshwari Military Hotel in Baburia, Koppal.
Yes, that's one. You guys
Who
have
your
remembered
daddy?
this.
Who your daddy that can open his book and read?
You're reading this
Baburai
back,
Gopal.
Award-winning book, Rocky Muir's award-winning book. They're cheating.
Time to plug. Highway on My Plate. Book 1 and Book 2 both won the World Gourmet Book Awards for food and are very valuable resources. Get yours today. I don't know when Amazon will deliver right now, even on Amazon Prime, but whenever you have the chance, get one of each.
But
Two
the
of
one
each.
thing I
Give one
remember
to
at this
daddy and
particular
mommy.
military hotel was, and it happened in a lot of places, there were so many drunk men, man. Like, it's a miracle how we fucking managed to shoot so much and so quickly and efficiently. Sometimes we used to do an episode a day and cover like 400 kilometers in a day. And it's a miracle we didn't kill each other, yeah? Like, four men in a fucking vehicle for like 12 hours. Anyway, but coming back to the food, rocks. Favorite meals in Karnataka, man? Tell me.
Yes.
Oh God, there's a lot, but people keep asking which is the best biryani you've ever had in your life. And I really want to say that the Hanumantu Pulao in Mysore, again, one of Rajnikant's favorites, apparently, that is truly an exceptional pulao or biryani, whatever you want to call it. It's a donne biryani. It is truly an exceptional biryani. So if you haven't had it yet, go down and have it. And similar to that, and making the link is the what's that restaurant in Bengaluru, yeah, Mayur, near the Banashankari bus stop.
Oh, Shivaji Military Hotel.
Ah, Shivaji Military Hotel. That was the one. Incredible food there. Those two are
Donne
really, they stand
biryani,
out.
yeah, the
I mean,
spicy
there's
biryani.
hundreds, but those two stand out.
You had really rated the Dindigul biryani up there. You remember?
No, it was fabulous. The kind of I mean, Dindigul is a completely separate kind of biryani, and it's very popular in Chennai now. There's a couple of places doing Dindigul biryani. There's a couple of chains doing it, and it's become very popular. But not just the biryani, even that mutta curry that they had. They had this egg thing, and they had this bone marrow omelette, and they had a huge amount of a huge number of delicacies, which was just fabulous. So Dindigul was a revelation. Such a small place and so modern. Remember that guy? He was using like mineral water to cook, and he was using the latest hygiene practices. He had the best equipment. And this I'm talking about what 10 years ago. This guy was way ahead of the game.
That further, yeah. Rocks, we're talking like 2007. We're talking like 13 years ago because that was, I think, that was the first time we rode the Dindigul, or maybe the second. But,
Second.
Yeah, that was the second one. But guys, coming to that egg place, I remember there's one place which had come up with was only serving different kinds of eggs. Actually, they had like 100 kinds of eggs in Bangalore. It was right.
Yeah, it was called the Egg Factory.
Right. I remember I loved that place a lot. Yeah. That was really good food. Yeah. I like egg. I have simple tastes.
You can tell why you were directing and not eating. One of my favorites has got to be. Do you remember those four brothers who had the place in Mangalore, the Hotel Ayodhya, and they were doing all those snacks? And the reason that they really stick out is they were doing all those snacks, and it was like what the most expensive item on the menu was like 12 rupees or something. And we said like, why are you even in business? And do you remember what the eldest brother he said? He said, this is all our grandmother's food, and the young people today, they won't have access to all these dishes that we grew up
Yeah,
with
it was
unless we
Ayodhya.
are
It
able to
was
serve
called,
it and give it to them at affordable
the place was
prices.
called Ayodhya.
Mr. Ramdas, I think his name. Yeah, Mr.
It
Ramdas.
was called
I think his
Ayodhya,
name.
I think, right, Mayur?
Correct. He had all those snacks, the patrode and the shemije, and oh man, that was good food also, and good food like served, really prepared and served
So,
with as a
Yeah, but listen,
mission
I want to go back to what
rather
the egg
rather
thing
than
that
just
Niku
like as
was
a
talking
business.
about here. I mean, why is egg so popular in Karnataka? I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people sort of struggle between being vegetarian and being meat eaters. It's not a big deal for a lot of us in other parts of the country or a large number of people in India, but a lot of people really struggle with it. So egg is that sort of gray area where you're still vegetarian or you can claim to be or not. Like I know Mayur has struggled with it. He falls into the evil ploy of eggs every now and then and becomes an egg eater. When it suits him, of course, and then goes back to being without eggs.
Wow.
So I think that is the one thing why eggs are so popular in Karnataka, because you can feel good about eating non-vegetarian and not feel bad about not being vegetarian, if that makes
Oh.
sense.
Yes, it does. But one thing, sorry, I want to point out is that there was this one place, again, I'm terrible with names. It had those really thick ghee dosas where it's very popular. Yeah, it's one of the biggest, most well-known places in Bangalore. No, where this guy came in with
With his watch.
gold, yes, watch. He was like Bappi Lahiri, a really dark mustache, and everyone started like when he walked in, it was like, sir has come, sir has come. So as it is, we had got a lot of bhav because by then, Homp was a well-known show, and Rocky and we would show up. He would say, he comes. So he said someone else had made a noise, and he came in and he sat with us. He came with a sense of authority. He apparently owned the whatever biggest Mercedes showroom, whatever there. And we were told by the owner, what is the name of the restaurant, Mayur?
Vidyarthi Bhavan.
Vidyarthi Bhavan. These are, sir gives whatever, English में what do you call Bhavishwani? He's astrologer. He can tell you.
Astrologer.
He can. So he came, sat with his gold chains and his thick watch. I don't know, it was a fucking Tag Heuer or a Rolex. And he started telling us our futures. Rocky, what did he accuse you of?
Listen, it shall remain unnamed, but he was very impressed with me. And what he said was, I said, oh, what a lovely watch you're wearing. He said, yes, very expensive, but you can have it. And he took it off, thinking that I'll say no. So I was like, thank you. And I took it and put it on.
Yeah.
And that sort of really cut him up. He was shocked. He was like in shock for a long time. He was like, oh my God, he's kept the watch.
It was the first thing he asked for back as soon as the cameras went off. He's like, can I have my watch back?
So yeah, that was really funny. Yes, Rocky Valley was in this sense of largesse. He said, "Hey, you can have my watch." But I remember he accused our business partner and co-director Prashant of some very horrible things, deviances. But he said, He was only talking to Rocky and Mayur. Of course, I was the chaprasi there who was on the side, and suddenly looked at me. He said, "Show me your hand." So I showed him my hand. Rocky, remember what he said?
No, wash your hands.
Wash your hands. He had already foreseen COVID. He was a truly astrologer of remarkable. He said, "You will be responsible for thousands of deaths."
Oh God. Really? I would not be surprised. And the other astrologer, Subramanian Swami, already told you that you're a Naxalite.
Yes. But now Coorg. So why Coorg will be memorable was that I saw the most beautiful, graceful dance of the warriors of Coorg. Okay, we didn't have the warriors, we had Rocky and Mayur, so they took these Coorgese weapons. What are those called? You guys remember those?
Odi Katti and Pichi Katti.
Again?
Oh, Rocky, you said, I'm not going to mispronounce it and have the Kodavas after me for like...
Kodavas, correct. They were the Kodavas. What are they called?
You're going to die, Nikku. Somebody's going to come get you.
Yeah. The big one, the big blade, the one we used to refer to lovingly as the Rakshas blade, the one that Rakshasas carry in all the Amar Chitra Kathas, that was the Odi Katti. That's the serious guy. And then there's a small ceremonial dagger which is called the Pichi Katti. And I have both, by the way. I have a very nice, beautiful old silver Pichi Katti which I got in Coorg because I just love the Kodwas. I'm fascinated by that culture and I spend a lot of time in Coorg. And they're just lovely people. Awesome coffee. Fantastic people, thorough gentlemen, amazing ladies, very hospitable, great with food. And, if I didn't know better, I would say they were the Surds of the South because they love to eat, they love to drink, and they all have guns, which is like, woohoo, party on, man. But Coorg is one of my favorite places. Yeah, I love the Kodavas. I think people from Coorg are like the Surds of the South. Being from Punjab and being a Surd, I can tell you, they are the happiest, best. They eat the best food, they drink, they enjoy their lives, they have a lot of fun, and they all have guns. Woohoo! So I'm really happy when I'm in Coorg. It feels like I'm at home here.
So no disrespect meant any Kodvas. I forgot what the term was, but I do that all the time. But I remember we had to finish off the episode, so we got these very mean-looking weapons, and we had these mean-looking men, and we ended with them doing this ridiculously graceless step, saying, Pulio, there's some Kodva term, and you guys danced into the sunset, and the crew was fucking cracking up. And the people walking on the road are wondering, who are these idiots? And why are they here with dangerous looking weapons?
The chant was Poile, and it's a festival in Coorg. It's a harvest festival, I think, or a ancestor worship festival. But yeah, come on, we don't know the dance, we don't belong there, and we're from the Dharminder Dharampaji school of dance. So if we don't know how to dance, we will.
Coming to festivals, we also covered a festival in Karnataka, right? Where was that? Mysore?
In Mysore, we did the Mysore Dasara, which is their most popular and most beloved festival. And there, if I remember it, they celebrate the slaying of Mahisasura.
Right.
And then they had the jumbo parade with all the elephants, the main one with the golden howdah and the idol in it.
And it's a really amazingly visual festival. They have these masks and little dolls that are laid out like almost in front of every shop, and you can like Rocky, I don't know how many masks you bought there, man. You got them shipped back or some shit, right?
Yeah, I got a lot of masks. I got a lot of dolls there because they have this whole culture of making dolls for Dussehra around that time, and I think it's called the Halli Manne or the Ain Manne, the house of dolls, and you recreate that and you worship. And people have got collections which are hundreds of years old. So it's fabulous to go to people's homes who've been collecting this for generations, and they have hundreds of dolls which are like from 4 or 5 generations ago. So stunning to see, but it's so nice here. Our country is just so fabulous. Our mythology is the richest possible mythology in the world. Nothing can come close. And the thing I remember about the Dussehra was the evening before the parade started, the day before Dussehra, when they were doing their dances and all in that little area where all the people were camped, all the musicians
Yeah,
and dancers.
the
What
courtyard.
huge energy. You remember that?
And I remember when you went into that basement where one of the largest, where all the dolls were, like I felt like Gulliver for once in my life. There were these, like, you know, there were dolls like lined up from this end of the basement to like the far end of the large basement, man. I just felt like kicking everything and like, I am king, I will take over this. So you little puny pebbles, I shall kick you. I didn't do that, of course. We would have not been let out alive. But yeah, it was awesome, man. It was pretty damn cool. Even I got one mask. It's still hanging, in fact, in my house.
Quick quiz for you guys.
Okay.
Do you remember where we
Okay.
had Gadbad ice cream?
Oh shit, no, I
Yes,
remember.
at a crossroads somewhere in Karnataka.
We had it at the place which claims to have invented it, Hotel Diana.
Hotel Dinah, yes.
Right.
On the Dinah chalk.
It's like vanilla, pista, all that in a mug. They put all those different flavors of ice creams and crushed nuts and this. And the guy even told us a story about how some clients came, and then the owner basically put together whatever ice cream he had with nuts and stuff. And then they liked it so much. The next time they came back, they said "Gadi Badi," which apparently in Kannada means
अच्छा, I don't remember
just
the
made in a
story.
hurry.
मयूर तेरी
And then it
यात्रा
became Gadbad ice
हाथी से
cream.
भी तेज है मेरे भाई. और तेरी
Please
body
refer, please refer to "Highway on My Plate," Volume 2, page 160.
you're fucking like we
wonder,
are. You're sitting there with a book.
Listen, somebody has to hold up that end of the bargain, because you're like, I remember I've traveled for 10 years all over the country, and those people from this called so, and the food, something, I don't remember the name, it's called this and that. Bhai sahab, aap kya Saskatchewan, Canada se ho? Somebody has to hold up.
Yeah, but listen, while we're on the subject of Karnataka, I really want to talk about one of my favorite experiences. There's this movie with Nana Patekar where he's an instructor at the Commando Training Center in Karnataka. I don't know if we can tell you the name of the place or not, but I might have to kill all of you if I tell you, so I'd rather not. And I remember that Lido jump. You remember the Lido jump, Mayur?
Oh, was that in Karnataka? Oh, yeah, you're right. Belgaum.
Yeah, you can say
Oh no,
Belgaum.
you get away!
No, you can, no,
Assassinate him,
Belgaum
kill
is
him
allowed.
now!
You can say because everyone has to go there for training. That the Belgaum jump. I remember that, man. What a fucking trip that was.
Yeah, do you
That's
remember those
Karnataka
when they were
overhead.
training the commandos to manage the cobras and the Russell Viper? You remember what a scary looking snake that was?
Yeah, it's fabulous. Yeah, I mean, I've grown up catching snakes, and after I got bitten a couple of times, my wife made me promise to not catch them anymore. But I was very tempted over there, and I did catch a couple. But what I want to talk about is that Lido jump. I mean, I remember diving in, swimming, then climbing up 10 meters, then walking on a plank which is like 8 inches wide, then walking up, then going again, climbing up another 7 meters, rolling on a rope, hanging, I mean, crawling along a rope, hanging at the edge and dropping 17 meters into the water, which I did at my 110 kilo frame at that time, and Mayur did at his 100 kilo frame. And then coming out, and the general looks at us and who was standing there and says to his colonel, he says, "Colonel, if these two can do it, we should raise the difficulty." And I was like, "What do you mean? If these two can do it?"
I know.
How do you do it, man?
तो चौड़ में निकल रहा था. How about that, fellas? Oh, but there's so many stories, man. We could fucking go on and on. But I'd really like to know from our audience and people listening to this. We're going to come hopefully 2 or 3 times a week with one story from every state. Tell us what are the states you want to know about. I mean, if we've been there, we'll tell you about it. You want to share some anecdotes of your own, we'll read your mails out. Because we really want to use this lockdown period so different people in the country and overseas can, just experience whatever our country has to offer through this podcast. Because, guys, we're stuck at home. Let's make the most of it.
Rocky bhaiya, kuch vishesh tippani, message to the people.
Stay at home, guys. I know it's a difficult time. It doesn't matter if there's 10,000 or 100,000 or 1 million people out on the streets. You staying back will reduce that number by one. And if we can all do that, we'll be a lot safer. And don't worry, this will blow away like everything else does. It's just a matter of time. We're a very resilient people. We're a very successful people. There's 1.4 billion of us. So obviously, we're doing something right, and this thing is not going to beat us. But until you're there, keep listening to what we have to say. Put the stories together. If you want to catch the shows, they are on Amazon Prime right now. You can catch Highway on My Plate Hills, an entire series of 13 episodes, just so you can see the sort of fun, the madness, the enjoyment. And I think, remember that. I mean, for us, India is about brotherhood. It's about loving each other. It's about fun. It's about food. It's about sharing culture, telling stories, being one. Just sort of creating a better world together. And we've lost that in the last few years, and I really miss that. I really want to be able to hug my brothers and sisters from all backgrounds, all religions, all faiths, eat all kinds of cuisines. So please do that. Let's have some fun, man, and we'll keep bringing this.
Basically, the whole build-up was, I noticed it ended with, and eat all the food that you have. So, Rock, right? You want to share your stories? Mail us at homp2020@gmail.com, right? So it is homp, HOMP, highway on my podcast, homp 2020 that's HOMP 2020 Correct, Mayur?
Correct. You can send in stories. You can send in anything you remember from having seen your favorite bits of Highway on My Plate.
Or stats or any of the other shows. What was the other show you guys did, yeah? We did it together. Sorry,
Rocky and Mayur's Food Express that we did for Living Foods.
Yes.
We did Vital Stats of India. We did Jai Hind. We did India's most content, but we will not talk about that.
Okay.
It's not food. I was almost food a few times. I don't want to talk about it.
So we will be back with another state next episode, which hopefully should be in 2-3 days. And this time it'll be Punjab. What do you say, boys? Should it be Punjab?
Woohoo! Always ready for Punjab.
Okay. Now I just had one more additional bit to give, and I know I didn't enjoy the show like you guys did with the food and all. And there's a complaint, so you guys don't have to weigh in. I know, and I'm being brutally honest. There were 2 places in the country, and shot everywhere for long periods of time, where the local help, in the sense, I'm not talking about house help, the help, whether it was production, whether it was the production guys, the light guys, any local talent we hired, or the drivers who were least interested in doing anything, was Assam and Karnataka. They were like, fuck you, we don't want to work. And on that, I think Punjab and Kerala, and Tamil Nadu, the efficiency that you got there from everybody. I don't know if I had bad luck, guys, if I did write in and correct me, but every time I went there, Assam and Karnataka, I could not get anyone to work. They said, fuck you, Karnataka.
Because the food is so good.
I burst a fucking blood vessel, I remember there, man, once.
Listen, that's what you were there for. Our job was to be there and to be happy and eat a lot. And we had sheer focus. We're professionals. We did that. We have no idea what was going on with you and the people of whatever state that you were dealing with.
No, it is. I think it's got a lot to do with it's got a lot to do with how you see yourself, how you view yourself as an individual. And I think people from Karnataka, take themselves very seriously with everything. So that, I think, you need to chill out a little bit, eat a little bit more dosa from somebody else's recommended spot rather than your own. And if you're a taxi driver in Karnataka, try to listen to other people for a change. It's nice. But listen, let's not go away without some action here. Let's do something fun. Director, come on.
We have to do the food court before we go. But before we give our wonderful listeners a wonderful food court, I will say that, Bangaloreans have told me in subsequent years that we've gone there, oh, you Delhi walas still think Koshi's is a great coffee place. It's not that great. There's so many others. But for me, our first trip, the coffee at Koshi's, the shoot there, the conversation, and that was the last shoot of the day. And I remember back then we could cover 3-4 places in a day. Because we'd shoot for 2 hours, go to another place, shoot. By the last time I went to Bangalore, you could only do 1 place in a day. Because by the time you finished and traffic, you were fucked.
Yeah.
Production
was bada kanjoos tha. We had to get maximum number of episodes and stuff shot in very little time.
Yes, but of course, by this last time we couldn't because traffic couldn't allow it. But for me, Koshi still has a very special place. Although I believe it's not such a happening place right now. What do you guys think? Do you remember Koshi's? I remember, it was really nice.
I remember the hot cross buns. And a really nice conversation with the people who were like doing a lot to conserve nature, and they had
Yes.
this poster of owls.
What's it, Rocks?
Yeah, Koshi is one of those legendary places of Bangalore, which I think represents the character of Bangalore as far as I'm concerned. They moved through decades and they stopped at a certain point of time, and now other places have come up with more modern tastes, sharper tastes. The world has really moved on, but that's the whole point of Koshi's. It is a window into the past of Bangalore, and the food that it brings out represents the food of that time. The taste hasn't changed, it's still brilliant. So when I go there, I make a connect with the culture of the Bangalore that I loved from the 80s and the 90s. And that for me will always make Koshi a special place. So people who are running it down, yeah, I know it's not like a fancy coffee place where you have 200 kinds of coffee, but it does have a huge amount of history and a huge amount of culture, and that's why it'll always be special.
I agree.
Nico, are you falling for this earnestness? I think he only loves it because from what I remember, Mr. Koshi told us they have about 800 items on the menu. And why would Rocky not love a place like that? He's like, I love it because it's a step into the past. Thank God the past had 800 things to choose from to eat.
No, I remember he had gone to court to protect that tree outside. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, the oak tree. Yeah.
They were cutting it down. He went to court. So I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's not hip anymore to like Koshi's, because I went to Bangalore, I think a couple of months back, and I was told that, oh man, not Koshi's, but I still went there. I love it.
Well done.
Yeah, of course. It's very modern with women empowerment and all. I mean, it could have been called Kohis, but it was called Koshi's so long ago.
I was wondering, we've gone through one food episode and not a single PJ has come from Rocky Uncle.
Somebody kill me.
What do you mean, PJ? These are deeply thought, very interesting anecdotes with humor.
Okay. Before we go, we'll leave you with a food court, and the food court used to evolve through a completely nonsensical conversation. And now that we are doing a completely candid, version of Highway on my podcast,
Okay, guys, so that's how we made that food court. And now here is the final version. We'll catch you again pretty soon in a day or two. And until then, make do with the food court. Karnataka is an amazing land with many a cuisine. There are so many places where we've been to and so many places where we yet haven't been.
We're so glad that Homp is back on the road because he'd rather eat dosas than lick a toad.
the virus may not kill you, but the Odikati will. So my suggestion, dear friends, is just stay home and chill. Podiye.
Ah, poile.
All the Newslaundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to Newslaundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs, and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.